Should you let your properties furnished or unfurnished? Well, stick with me until the end of this video and I'll tell you the easy way how you can know. So, should we let our properties furnished or unfurnished? Most new investors assume there's a right answer to this. They'll assume that either furnished is better or unfurnished is. In fact, in my experience, most will assume that furnished is best, I guess because they think they'll get more rent. But the truth is, there is no right or wrong answer, or at least not a blanket answer that applies to every property. The answer will always come down to what the market expects for that type of property in that location. Or, put another way, the market will tell you. Not a blog post, not a rule of thumb, not a YouTube influencer, not based on what an investor letting property on the other side of the country thinks. The market in your area for your tenant type and for your property type in that location will tell you whether you should let your properties furnished or unfurnished. That said, there are a few things I've learned, both from my own experience and from seeing hundreds of landlords get this right and wrong. Let's start with unfurnished. If you've got the choice, and you're not in a short-let serviced accommodation or corporate rental market, unfurnished might be your preferred choice. Here's why. Firstly, you don't have to spend thousands on furniture, appliances, or replacing things when they break. You don't have to pat test your appliances every year. So right away, you're saving a lot of money. Secondly, as a general rule of thumb, tenants who bring their own furniture tend to stay longer. Why? Because it's more of a hassle to move when they have to take their sofa, bed and other belongings with them. And because when they furnish it, it feels more like home, and that's a good thing for them and for you. Thirdly, again another rule of thumb, they tend to look after the place better. If it's their stuff in there and they're more careful, then when they leave you won't be arguing over the deposit because of a scratched table or a broken chair, because it's theirs. But here's the important point. You'll notice I said, if it's your choice. But sometimes you won't have the choice. In some areas, furnished is the expected standard. Not because it's better, but because that's just how it is. In other words, that's what the local market wants. In city centres where you're letting to young professionals, they might not have any furniture. They want plug and play. They're moving for work or moving on soon, and they don't want the hassle of buying and moving furniture. They expect the property to be furnished to a good, even high standard. Think of your classic furniture pack which you order when you buy your city centre new build buy-to-let apartment. If you offer unfurnished in that market, you're probably cutting out 80% of your potential tenants. Here's something I found very surprising when I first started in property. Many of my tenants are on benefits, and they want the property unfurnished. It's very counterintuitive. The relatively affluent young professionals in my token city centre apartment want furnished, but my tenants on benefits want properties that are unfurnished. So don't make any assumptions. The question is, how can you find out what is right in your area? Well, firstly, don't guess. Secondly, ask. But don't ask on a Facebook group or at a property network meeting. You'll hear all sorts of nonsense, and usually based on someone's limited experience in a totally different location for a totally different type of property or a different target tenant type. The only way you can know for sure what your local market expects is to ask your local letting agents. After all, they're dealing with tenants and showing them around on viewings all the time, and they will know exactly what a tenant wants and how to get your property let as quickly as possible. So call at least 3 good letting agents in your area. Even better, call in person if you can and ask them face to face. Ask them, what do tenants expect for this type of property in this location? What lets faster and what gets better rents? Furnished or unfurnished? And do make sure that you're both talking about the same thing. If you're letting a terraced house, make sure they aren't telling you about the city centre apartment, and vice versa. They might be in the same town, maybe even in the same street, but they are completely different markets. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about what works in theory, it's about what works for your property, in your postcode, with your tenants. And getting that right could save you thousands and spare you some very unnecessary furniture shopping. And if you're enjoying this video, then please don't forget to like, follow and subscribe. And please also come over to my website, thepropertyteacher.co.uk, that's thepropertyteacher.co.uk, where you'll find loads of resources, including free special reports, plus my very popular The Successful Property Investors Strategy Workshop, and the Successful Property Renovators Workshop.